Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. On this week's show, we are going to break down WNO 23 that was headlined by Wagner Hosha versus Nicholas Margali. We are also going to break down every finals match for the Asian and Oceanic trials for ADCC, the final qualifying trials. So now, essentially, aside from a few invites, we have all of the names for ADCC 24. As always on your show, I'm your host, Maine, my co-host,
Miranda.
Hey, doing Miranda?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Got more sleep finally after
I
going down to the Ozarks.
I literally did not sleep very much for a couple days. It was pretty wild.
So we'll probably talk more about this in the outro, but Miranda just got back from Car-Jitsu. You can't talk too much about it.
Yeah, but once it gets released, then we'll do some breakdowns and discuss it.
Yeah.
But it was a great event. Yeah, that's about what I can say right now.
So I'm excited to talk about that.
Yeah,
in a couple months we can talk about that.
Yeah, and it'll be a fun time because
I'm excited to chat
especially
with you
I get to be on ESPN Ocho.
Which is, I love that there's a real thing nowadays.
I know, right?
So we'll talk about that in a couple of months when that's released. We have a ton of ADCC invites this week. I think this is the week so far. Let me go through. I don't think we've talked about any of these guys. I think Nicky Rod is the only guy on our list that we've talked about before.
Yeah.
But Nicky Rod's in. We have Eli Braz, who is the rule for ADCC we're figuring out is either 1 gold out of trials or 2 silver at a trial, especially if they're back-to-back weekends, will get you in, which I think is very reasonable. If you can place and only lose to 1 guy at a trial back-to-back weekends or at 2 trials in your region, you're on the short list.
I think it's also a size thing. I think if you're a heavier weight class, you can get 2 silvers and get into trials.
I mean, we have 3 guys on this list that have that. We have Eli Braz, South American Trials winner.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong then.
Under 99 kilograms.
Let's know that my brain is not on full force right this second.
Yeah, you've had a rough couple of days of travel and competing.
Yeah, it's been something.
We have also on that 2-time list. We have Keith Krikorian getting an invite at under 66 kilograms. We also have Oliver Taza getting an invite at under 77 kilograms.
I like how I typed it wrong.
Well, you spelled it wrong, but we know who that is.
Yeah.
Oliver Taza, perennial top contender there in the trial systems, with both the European trials and the U.S. trials. He gets an invite. Keith, perennial guy in the U.S. and the North American trials, gets an invite. Also having an invite, we're going to talk about him later this week. Later in this show, we have Rafael Lovato Jr. getting an invite at under 99, and Miranda has a retirement question mark there.
Because didn't he retire at the last
one,
ADCC?
Yes. But then he unretired, and he honestly
I thought he unretired for master tournaments. I thought he said
from gi. He retired from.
No, I thought he retired from adult brackets, and then he went back to master worlds, and he was like, "Oh, I'll do master."
And then he retired
divisions.
from the gi at the same year that Sanji did at a masters tournament. And then so Lovato's rationale, I think, is actually, of all the answers that people have given for retiring and unretiring, I've liked Lovato's the best. It was basically, look, I'm still in the room with the best guys in the world, Victor Hugo, Felipe Costa. I'm still in the room with those guys putting the work in, like when I was a competitor. Why should I not go and compete? If I'm going and I'm putting these kind of world camps in with these guys, and I'm in this good a shape, and I'm putting this much work and effort,
and he really is in the better shape.
He's in phenomenal shape.
Yeah, he's in.
And so it's one of those guys where it's like, hey man, you're one of the top American guys of all time, the pioneers of the sport for the Americans. I'm cool with you getting an invite. You earned it.
Yeah.
So he gets in at under 99. We have Mo Black, silver medalist for the U.S. trials. And winner of the first non-qualifying U.S. North American trials for the women.
One of the only people who've ever beaten Helena Kravar.
Oh, yeah. She beat her in the first trials.
Yep.
So Mo Black on that list. Amanda Lev also gets in. She won the first U.S. trials, which is the non-qualifying trials for the women. I keep calling it U.S. trials, North American trials.
Yeah.
My bad. I want to always refer to them as the correct trials name. I'm going to do that a lot later in the show when we talk about the Asian and Oceanic trials. Yeah. I call it the Asian trials a lot. My bad. Amanda Lev won the first one. She got injured, and then in the second one, looked very good up until then. So she gets an invite, which I think is very well deserved, given just how she has looked competitively over the last couple of years. Josh Cisneros, fan favorite, really, really fun action grappler, got an invite at under 66 kilograms. Nicky Rod, silver medalist, 2-time silver medalist, invited back. He's an invite for plus 99. We also have our buddy John Hansen.
Yep.
It's public now. He has the invite, hasn't come out yet, but he's been able to post about it. So his plus 99 invite came out. And right now, that's all we have. But there's a couple of other people, really like the last couple names are going to get dropped probably in the next couple of weeks, because ADCC tries to give guys enough time to be able to plan their camps, so they have full camps and they're ready to go.
It kind of sounds like they kind of know ahead of them.
Yeah, a lot of guys have to keep it quiet, but kind of know and are able to start preparing and prepping, which I like.
Only because like the Amanda Lev one, we definitely saw some people.
Somebody else posted something first.
People mention it before it actually happened. I was like, oh, somebody wasn't very tight-lipped about this shit.
And usually it comes out a couple of days after. So that's all the names that we have publicly now, which is awesome. I think all of these, we have the strongest roster in ADCC ever, and it's just it's phenomenal to watch the sport grow and to just see the quality of late invites that we're getting. If this is anything like ADCC 2022, it'll shine, and I'm very, very excited for it. So that's all I have for ADCC invites. We're going to break down the trials that happened this weekend, the last qualifying trials, and then we have to run some numbers and figure out essentially how many invite slots we have left. And then this year, I'm curious about who our alternates are going to be.
Well, we already know one. We already know Atos Atlanta.
Alex Enriquez.
She's one of the...
She's an alternate?
She's an alternate.
Oh, really?
She posted that she was an alternate.
Oh, that's exciting.
So we know that she's an alternate.
Yeah, that's the quality of alternates you're getting is like women like Alex Enriquez. Like that's exciting. Usually the alternates are pretty quiet. This year I'm actually genuinely curious. Usually at the week of ADCC, we kind of figure out who the alternates are.
Yeah, because they weigh them in. They weigh them in with everybody else.
They're weighed in alternates. They're paid to come. They're like, hey, you're here to go do the thing, so that if someone doesn't make weight or drops or whatever, there's a full bracket. No one gets an undue advantage for having to slot guys in and out. So I'm curious. We probably have less than 10 people, or less than probably. There has to be less than 10 slots left.
I think so.
Yeah, each division having one more wouldn't surprise me, but some of those are full.
I feel like a ton of these came out this week.
Oh, yeah. This is a big list. So this will be exciting. Let's see. What else?
We have to make sure to remind people to like, share, and subscribe.
Oh, yeah. We're bad about that.
To
Again,
the podcast.
Making a big push this year, or really between now and ADCC. If you like the show and you train with people that you think might also like the show or want to just break down jiu-jitsu, share the show with folks at the gym or that person at your gym that you watch cards with to talk about with.
Do you have any more patches?
I do.
Like our friend has?
I have a bunch of patches. I have a bunch of stickers.
Before I leave today, I need one for my gi pants for our jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, if you want patches or stickers, shoot us a DM and we'll work it out.
Yeah.
So, but we are trying to grow the show ahead of ADCC.
I want to make myself like NASCAR.
Yeah.
With all my friends all over me.
All the gi patches. I have a gi that has been in storage for 3 years that is just for that.
I only get the pants, so
okay.
I get to just cover the pants. But anyway.
So
back to
we'll make sure to get you a patch before we leave today.
Yes.
What else we got? Oh, we have some fun announcements for who's number one card. We're going to break that down as well in a little bit here. We have Pato versus Fabricio Andre got announced for the June 20th card.
Nice.
That's a banger matchup. Can't wait to preview that one and then break it down. We also have Jacob Couch versus Francisco Lowe. They got announced for that card. And we have Luke Griffith versus Victor Hugo. They got announced for that card as well. So 3 pretty exciting kind of fun matchups for the June 20th card. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Also, we have a bunch of announcements this week. Polaris is coming out hard with its card. Yeah. We had Owen Livesley versus Yoel Romero.
Yeah,
Soldier of God, Yoel Romero.
Allegedly, he called him out. Owen did after he won against what's his name, UFC fighter
Chris Weidman.
Yeah, he called out Yoel Romero, which is
I remember that.
That's an interesting call out.
I'll watch Yoel Romero grapple. He's looked 33 for 15 years.
Yeah, he's
20 years at this point.
He's like almost 50, and he looks jacked.
He looks phenomenal.
Like,
good for Yoel Romero.
Jacked. And he's never came up positive for anything, which blows my mind.
Blows everyone's mind.
How the fuck does that happen?
Those good Cuban genetics. So I'm excited for that match. That'll be a really fun stand-up Greco style probably wrestling match. But Owen's been able to put really fun matches on in Polaris, and so again, I'm excited to see what Romero brings to that stage. Also, a guy we're going to talk about a lot this week, Levi Jones-Leary is taking on Mateusz Szynski.
Yeah.
Coming up in Polaris.
That'll be interesting to see if Mateusz can grab a leg as Levi tries to bolo.
Because that is what Levi Jones... I cannot wait to get into the breakdown section for ADCC trials. We just talk about Levi Jones-Leary boloing everyone.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
So he got announced for a match this week as part of the exclusive contract that he has with Europe for Polaris. So it's a super fun match.
Yeah.
Really glad the Polaris made that. We also have Jed Hugh versus Stevie Ray. Should be fun. And we have also announced Helena Cravar versus Jessica Tortilla.
Yeah.
So Finnish grappler.
Yeah.
So should be... Again, looks like a really good card. Polaris is also running a Pro-Am card on June 9th. I don't know a ton of the details, but they've run like qualifiers before. I think this is like an open tournament, like an open kind of, like an open for them. We'll get more details as kind of get closer to it, but that would be awesome. Again, I love people in these feeder systems, and I love that more and more organizations are making more tournaments for grapplers to go out and kind of get that experience in their rule set to then go on to the big stage and like excel. We're seeing what it's doing for ADCC and the level that we're seeing at ADCC now with those opens. I want all the organizations to do that. It's awesome. So that comes up June 9th if you're in the UK, I think. The UK?
Yeah, I think it's UK.
I think it's UK. Look at it. So Miranda, what do you want to do break down first? Do you want to break down who's number one or Trials first? What are your thoughts?
Trials is... I enjoyed Trials.
Trials was awesome. Let's break down Trials first. That was a game time decision. We both started recording the show, and we were like, we'll figure it out on the fly.
Yeah.
So let's break down. This is the second Asian and Oceanic Trials for ADCC. This is the last trials of the 2024 ADCC season. Season? Is it?
Yeah.
Tournament cycle, World Championship cycle.
I don't know.
Your eyes good?
Yeah, I got some kind of weird thing in my eye, but besides my contact lens, which is always fun.
So this is the last qualifier, and because it is the second trials in the region, this is the women's qualifier for Asia and Oceanic trials. So we have a lot of Australian women that qualified for this ADCC. You need a second? Need like a thing?
Talking.
Okay.
I'll be fine.
You just keep rubbing into your eyeballs.
If you watch
the video show, you watch Miranda just digging into her eyeballs.
Me pull my contact
lens
out and then try to figure out what the hell's wrong with my eyeball.
All right. Well, you let me know if we need to pause.
No, I don't need to pause.
So let's start with 66 kilograms. We have. Okay. So I ahead of the show, I have a number of Chinese students that I teach at the university club I run, and I put a big message into our group chat. Was like, okay, I'm gonna make an effort here this year to not butcher as many names, and I got a nice voice message for one of my students. We have Wai Xing Shu versus Daike Yonikura at under 66 kilograms.
Yeah.
This was a super fun match, and Wai Xing Shu is a guy from Allione, and apparently a guy that Joseph Chen trained with or has trained with in the past, because again, Joseph Chen's also Allione. His B team bounces around, but the Allione team has been really, really strong. We have seen Wai Xing Shu before on Aiga.
Yeah.
We saw him versus Fabricio Andre, and we were like impressed with him then. Again, Fabricio Andre beats him, but we were really impressed with him in that tournament, and then he went against Universal Fighters. Like, I watched a couple of his matches since then, and we were really impressed with him then. So this, again, he was not a guy that we had on our short list for the trials, but thinking about it and seeing him previously doesn't really surprise me that he's the trials winner here.
Yeah. No, not at all. He had some great wrestling. He had some great ground game once he hit the ground. He had those hips that once even if they get taken down, like you can't hold them down, they just pop back up. I don't know how to explain that otherwise. It's just sometimes when you roll against somebody of that size, they have like this bounciness.
Reminds me of the Jose Aldo hips.
Yeah.
Where it's like, he's not going to touch the mat. As soon as he touches, he's going to bounce back up. Like he has springs. I think one of my favorite analogies were the guys at Heavy Hands. They're talking about Jose Aldo, and it's like he has springs on his hips. Where it's like he touches the mat and he just immediately bounces back up. It was one of the hallmarks of Aldo throughout his career.
Yeah.
Like, both these guys kind of did that. We had a lot of shot and counter shot and a lot of Yonikura driving for Wai Xing Shu's legs, and then Shu on the top, like pushing him down, going behind. We saw some great counter back takes from both grapplers. This one goes to decision. I think it pretty cleanly goes to Wai Xing Shu here, but
he is into more aggressive attacks. Daiki is definitely shooting in more, but most of the attacks are coming from Shu.
The initiation. And in ADCC, the initiation is a really, really big and important thing, because that, if there's a no score, and even if there are positional exchanges happening, the person that is initiating those positional exchanges is the one that is going to win a decision most of the time if they are successful in like any of those. Even if you are shooting in and then getting countered, a lot of times it's a very even exchange, or even if you are getting countered, you are still winning the exchange, because the positional change that is happening in the eyes of ADCC would not have happened had you not made that engagement. And so they're rewarding you for being the one willing to engage. I think by that criteria, this is very clearly for Wai Shu.
Yeah.
But this was a really fun match. It was diverse. We had a big chunk of this match with Shu on the back and actually like working towards a choke. We saw good like all around jiu-jitsu. There were attacks into the legs, there was wrestling, there was back takes, there was counter back takes, there was guillotines, there was snap downs. Like, it really was a very good microcosm of kind of why we like the ADCC rule set. We saw a lot of shots immediately to turtle, or counters immediately to turtle. Like, people have really figured out.
And Shu was doing a lot of like, Daiki would shoot and he would grab anacondas and try to roll anacondas, which was, I mean, it made more sense than grabbing a guillotine, because your guillotine isn't going to always be there.
Right.
But like, if you can grab the arm, then
and you can roll through and you can pass. It was a really nice match. It was a lot of fun. Again, no scoring match, but it was a lot of fun. And again, I'm very curious to see what Shu does at the World Championships now that he's punched a slot. I think so. There were a couple of posts that said this is the first Chinese qualifier in ADCC. I thought when ADCC was in China a couple years ago, there were some, essentially, I want to say like local people that got pulled in. People had visa issues in like the first round, and they got eliminated. I think there have been Chinese grapplers in ADCC before, but I can't actually pin any. But I thought there were visa issues in China that year, and that this has happened before. But I think he is, or the posts that I'm seeing are that he is the first Chinese qualified grappler, which is super exciting, because Joseph Chen is representing
South Africa.
Yep, technically. So super exciting. And then I'm blanking on Cicerelli, Hong Kong. But did she win she won the first trials, not the second trials?
Yeah.
And that wasn't the qualifying trials for the women.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yep. So.
But didn't she win? No, she didn't win.
Did she win Europeans? She won Europeans too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay. But she was not representing Hong Kong there. She was representing.
No, she was. Her flag said Hong Kong, but she was UK.
That's what it was. Yep. Okay. So
because we were trying to figure out flags.
Yes.
We always have the time with Miranda and Maine looking at flags, trying to figure out.
Yeah, you missed the first hour and a half of pre-show of just us like racking our brain looking at flags. What flag is that? And then doing the flag game. Because I want to know where people are from. I like grappling has gotten more and more international, especially with ADCC.
You get these outlier countries that you're like, oh, that's Cyprus.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, I got her name wrong.
There's one Cyprus woman.
Crisadora.
Yeah.
She won the European trials in 2022, and I had her flag wrong, and you looked it up, and it was actually Cyprus.
Yeah. I wasn't going to call you out on your error. I was
let's do it. Let's rock it.
We were just looking.
I kept saying Sardinia, which is just a region of Italy and not its own country. I've called, and on the show for like a year probably, I've said she was Sardinian.
I don't know.
And it's Cyprus.
I don't know if you've said that or not.
No.
But
in the pre-show, I've definitely said it. So moving on, let us talk about Levi Jones-Leary versus Jeremy Skinner. So Flo put out a supercut of Levi Jones-Leary, essentially the Bolo Brigade.
It's 34 minutes.
Of just Levi Jones-Leary doing bolos.
Trying to bolo you.
To everyone. Trying and succeeding. There is one thing in his finals match that I do want to call out because I'm going to forget about it.
Yeah.
With 1 minute and 3 or 4 seconds left in the match, Levi Jones-Leary is on Jeremy Skinner's back. And at one point, you hear in the crowd Lachlan Giles, who was coaching.
Not in the crowd. He's like on the coach's chair.
Yeah, you hear Lachlan in the coach's chair, who's been pretty quiet because Levi's girlfriend is coaching him sort of most of the coaching. And what you occasionally hear Lachlan like chime in because Lachlan trains Levi Jones-Leary as part of that athlete development program that he's pioneering. And you hear him go, "Sorry, Jeremy," in the accent, and then you see Jeremy Skinner. You see him like look up and like flick Lachlan off.
Yeah.
And I was like, That's hilarious. And you could tell it was like not a mean flick off, but it was like because you could tell because he has a relationship with Skinner as well.
Yeah.
It was just a very funny moment, and I like that in these really intense moments of finals, we can still have like, we're still grapplers. We're still all in this kind of same community, and like we can still have those moments. I thought it was a really, in some of the more chippy matches, it is nice to have a finals match like this with two guys that know each other, and then coaches that know each other and have coached both athletes. It was a very funny moment.
It's not the same as the situation like that occurred at Who's Number One.
Yeah,
like that was not the same fun chippiness as this.
Yes. So, Miranda, you watched all of them. I watched Levi's first match, his second to last match, and then his finals match. But you watched every single one of the matches in the Supercut.
I watched all of them because.
Do you have any takeaways other than my one takeaway for years on Levi Jones Leary has been?
I was like, holy shit, the boy can bolo.
Doesn't matter. He's the best bowler in the world.
Bolo, and the other thing he does really well, which is definitely a gi holdover thing. And then I also saw that he's teaching it through Lachlan's program, the online thing he has.
It's not Submission X.
No, not. It's not Jiu-Jitsu X. That's Keenan's.
No, yeah.
Meta
IO or Submeta. Yep.
So through that, he's teaching it, which is a leg drag. He does a no-gi leg drag. Mm-hmm. He does it amazingly. Like if somebody sits on him, he no-gi leg drags and then bolos. Mm-hmm. And dude, like what I initially started looking for was I was looking for the bolo sequence to see if he did the same exact sequence to everyone.
He does it
because that's kind of what he did the first time we saw him in no-gi at Polaris.
We've seen him in no-gi before, but like that was the first big one we've seen him recently.
He did a lot of the same no-gi sequences. But on this one, he did a little bit of everything. Like, he did every bolo that you could ever imagine at some point.
The half bolo, the crab ride bolo, the inverted bolo, the under knot. He went from the bolo to the come on top version. He did the back take off of that. He would then counter the back take on, like, the spin through on the bolo to take your back or to get on top and give you, like, the double threat of I can either come on top or take your back. To go back into the guard to then re-bolo you and pass. Yeah. It was just, we've said it for years. Levi Jones Leary is the best bolo player in the world, and it's always kind of been a question. Like, we knew he could do it in no-gi.
I wonder if why Polaris made him sign that contract is so that they don't put him on one.
Versus Cade?
No, versus
Ty?
No.
Versus Mikey?
Yeah.
He's big.
He's 77.
And Mikey's their lightweight champion. Or no, sorry, is their featherweight champion, 55.
Yeah, but you know he would go up to...
Yeah, Mikey fought Muhammad Ali.
Like, he's fought everyone, but...
Yeah.
I wonder if... But they're both, like, bolo artists, sort of.
Oh, that's the match I never knew I wanted to see until just now.
Yeah, I just thought about it.
I think they had a match early career. I don't know why. I think they've had a match early career when Levi was smaller.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Okay.
But anyway...
Modern days, that'd be awesome.
I wonder if that's why Polaris signed him, because that way he can't go anywhere else.
Well, he only is locked in exclusive for European events.
Oh, okay.
So he can go and do anything across the world as long as it is not an event based in Europe. So it kind of locks him out of Grapple Fest. It locks him out of a couple other organizations.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, but I just realized
brain went that direction.
Depending on how the Cade match goes with Mikey, would love to see Levi Jones, especially if Levi's now like. We're seeing him in no-gi. Yeah. Would love to see him versus those guys, either Cade or Mikey, or even Ty. And, other news this week, there is a rumor, not a rumor, like Cade has said it, that him and his brother might swap divisions. Yeah,
because he said they swap, they're the same size. He says his brother normally fights the heavier people, but they might switch.
And Cade's like has an MMA announcement. Yeah. He's coming in MMA. He's going back to ADCC, and they're going like, yeah, man, I'll fight the guys at 88. You go down to 77, fight those guys. And it was a really kind of like gangster interview the way he did it. He was like, nah, man, I'll fight these guys for you. Yeah. And it was a cool moment. I kind of got really excited about that because I'm curious. What Ty looks like at 77, because Ty's again been used to fighting the bigger guys. It'll be interesting to see him kind of much smaller fighting guys with much more size parity.
It's not like he's going to be much smaller. He's going to be the same size.
I think he cuts to make that.
He cuts?
Yeah, okay. He's not. I mean, again, he did 66. He's done 88. Now rounded out with 77 in ADCC and end your career back at 99. Like, wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, that was exciting. That's a matchup I want to see between Levi Jones-Leary and those guys. But all through this entire tournament, Levi Jones-Leary looked like he's the best bolo player in the world, undoubtedly. And I think the thing that was most telling to me was we said this when Levi Jones-Leary got double DQ'd at Worlds for pulling.
Yeah.
And then we said it in Spider when he won $100,000 and almost got DQ'd in that for pulling. No matter what you do, Levi Jones-Leary is going to play the bolo game.
Yeah.
And it's like he was willing to get double DQ'd. He is willing to lose it all to play the bolo game. And that's terrifying.
But I think because he's such a good bolo player, he's learned from those mistakes because even in his finals match, he didn't sit. And he actually like took a bad situation and turned it into a bolo, which was wild.
Yeah, he got like arm dragged and it kind of got his back like shucked by Skinner.
But then he like boloed him from there, and I was like, holy shit!
When they went to the mat, I went, "Oh no, Jeremy, he's now on. You put Levi Jones-Leary on the ground without having to pull.
Well,
oh no!"
And you know his leg drags, so he leg drags and then he bolos from his leg drag. I mean, he really from every situation knows what to do, and even from everywhere.
So I have a guy at one of the university clubs he's a very, very good grappler, and he's teaching me how to bolo because I have a broken back, and it's not a move I've really been interested in because I want to go back.
I want to go deep in the bolo world at some point. I just haven't figured out when.
He's been teaching me, and so it's given me a huge new appreciation for Levi Jones-Leary's game because like I'm watching what he's teaching me, and then I'm seeing like the level that Levi Jones-Leary can do it at, and it's pretty inspiring. Of like, wow, he has counters of counters of counters and like sequences because that is the only game that he is willing to play. He is going to force you into his game and he's gonna beat you there, and it's wild. So you brought it up in one of Levi's earlier matches that we were really impressed. His semifinals,
I believe, was Ethan Cannon. Was a gentleman from Australia.
Yeah, is he U.S. or is Australia?
I think he's Australia. When I finally looked at it, he was from that.
Dabine. 100%.
Yeah.
Is what a smooth comp is registered as.
Yeah. And he was from that gym, and he was the only gentleman that I watched not completely beat the bolo, but not allow Levi to bolo him until the last 45 seconds of the match.
Yeah. In the first, he gets mounted first, and then he gets out of it when there's no points.
Yeah.
And then in the points period of time, we watch him ride Levi Jones-Leary's bolo game from the top four. The majority of that round, just beautiful counters. And it was like, Ethan Cannon is good.
Yeah, it was like high step. But it was a lot of high steps, a lot of like floating and staying on top and not allowing him to get behind you.
But it wasn't reactionary. Yeah. It was like he was in it with Levi in like he's countering Levi, but he's not doing that. When you play against a bolo player, if you are reactively countering them, you're gonna lose. Like the bolo is set up to be able to be like that's how the game works for the Baron bolo player. And so it was so impressive to us to watch Ethan Cannon versus Levi Jones-Leary because you watched him elevate with Levi, and then he would see Levi was going to turn. He would preemptively start the hip turn. He would never let him get so entangled in the bolo that he couldn't escape.
Even when Levi would like grab his hip and start to pull him back, you saw him drop his butt to the mat and turn so that he couldn't get behind him. And he made like every counter that you could ever imagine, and he did them as fast as Levi could throw them.
Yeah.
But
it wasn't like a scramble counter.
No.
It was like, I'm just in this position with you.
And it wasn't like super aggressive either. It was like this really kind of almost like flowy back. It was
really
wild.
Cool. It's part of the slow super cut, but you go back and watch the super cut for Levi Jones-Leary. Go watch his finals match and watch the match with Ethan Cannon. Like after seeing Ethan here, very few guys can stop Levi like he does for a while. At the end, Levi kind of figures it out, and he scores in the last 45 seconds. He scores like 7 points. He passes and then gets on top and gets in mount. But that initial the point section of the match up until that was very, very impressive, and it encountered Levi in a way that not a lot of guys can go into his game like that and stop.
Yeah, he's the only one out of all of them, and that includes Skinner, that really beat the bolo for a while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everybody else, they had maybe one or two times that they beat it and then he got it. And with Ethan, he had throw the kitchen sink bolo-wise at him before he ever got anywhere.
Yeah.
You know?
It was a fun match. Again, Skinner looked great in the finals here up until again Levi starts to get the bolo going, and then he gets outscored 3-0. I think Levi only got his back one time in the points period at the end to score, and then Skinner blocked the hands and everything he needed to do.
The whole finger situation was the back.
That was the back take. That was a scoring back take there. But yeah, this was just, I am super excited to see Levi Jones-Leary coming into Nogi and just tearing it up with his very unique game and just being it's always fun to see the best guy in the world at something have that thing be good enough to then put him on the best stage in the world. And so Levi Jones-Leary has always been a really interesting guy for a lot of reasons. And he plays this game, and man, he is really, really good at it.
Who knows what we should do a dollar bet of what color hair Levi Jones-Leary will have for ADCC.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm down for that bet.
Because
he's done blue, he's done red, he's done blonde.
It's green.
You've seen green.
He was orange this time, right? Wasn't it orange?
It was like reddish orange color. Sometimes.
You just never
I'm
know.
down for doing a dollar bet. We're on the plane to Vegas. We'll all make the dollar bet. What color is Levi Jones' hair? No Instagram. What color is his hair for ADCC? Make dollar bets with your friends. Because they're a lot of fun for watching grappling. So that was Levi Jones-Leary versus
and then he gets announced. We all get to go, to whoever wins.
And everyone hands over dollars. So that was so Levi Jones-Leary is now the under 77 kilogram trials winner for ADCC World Championships 2024. Moving on to the under 88 kilogram. This was Lucas George Gunnar Kennard versus William Diaz. This was a lot. Wait, is this? Yeah, okay. I have the right match in my head. This is the heel hook.
Yeah, this is a heel hook.
Like the second sequence of the match.
A lot of wrestling, and then heel hook.
It's 5 minutes of Lucas and William kind of doing the push, takedown, push, and then it's
Kennard tries a double leg. It goes out of bounds. They pull him back in. As soon as they pull him back in, he's like, "Oh, I was in on that leg long enough. I'm going to sit to my butt now."
Which is thoughtful, and he doesn't get scored against for it, which is good. He initiated a takedown.
Just immediately goes into the legs. Like, it's almost like a saddle from K. And then he's just like, "Oh, heel hook."
Yeah,
and it was over.
It was a good sequence, but there's not much more on that. You have a notes that he did beat in one of his earlier matches Bob Farias, the former trials winner from 2022 World Championship.
Yeah, it was a decision. It was a very it was a super long push.
Isaac
match.
beat in the finals last time, so it's like he did have some pretty stiff competition in the region in his division. So that's interesting. Again, not a guy we know a ton about, but. We learned anything, it's that Australia makes good leg lockers.
Yeah, they make some. There's a lot of Australian winners today.
There's a lot, I would love to see a Sydney trials. Because Australia this is in Bangkok.
Yeah.
Like, Australia has enough talent. They field enough talent in the Asian trials.
If they do a Sydney trials, we got to go.
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was like. I realize this is Bangkok too late and it's too close to the World Championships to swing a giant trip like that. But if they go to Sydney, like, Grappling Rewind goes to Sydney for Sydney trials. That would be awesome. I've been to Sydney in, like, 15 years.
I went when I was 15 years old. So
I went when I was 17.
I'm not going to do the math.
So it was
everybody.
So it was it would be awesome.
Yeah.
So moving on to the under 99 kilogram division, this was Daniel John Stewart versus
Stewart. Is that Stewart? Shirt.
Oh.
Stewart.
How'd you?
Shirt.
Look, you're on the pronunciation.
I'm gonna say shart.
So I'm gonna go Daniel versus Alibi Orduzbek, and you looked up because you're Miranda.
I was like, his name is Alibi, and I was like, that's an American word, and I looked it up, and it means great lord in Kazakh,
which is a badass name.
Yeah.
The whole Kazakhstan national ADCC team came out for this trials. Again, the trials have been frequently in Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
They're not. I mean, they're in there. They're in Kazakhstan frequently. They have a really good ADCC feeder.
They had some cool looking rash guards. That they
had that like the Kazakh flag on them.
Yeah,
and they look
then
awesome.
They had some big design on the back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think they had at least 2 people in the finals, if not 3. They had one woman that made it pretty far as well. So that was cool. Let's see. Oh, this was a lot of hand fight wrestling, and then Daniel, 2 different sections of the match, getting essentially a wrestle up. And then getting to Alibi's back.
Yeah.
And then Alibi would stand up and then Daniel would go and get like a half back. What do they call it? What's that? It's not a broomstick post.
I don't know what that thing's called.
You
hook the
thing
leg.
that Gordon and Bodoni do to everyone, and
Yeah, they
Fabricio Andre.
stick their leg in there.
You do the cross ride between the two. I'm
Yeah.
blank. There's a name for it in
We're
like
gonna
in
call it-
jiu-jitsu and in wrestling.
Let's call it cross ride.
Yeah, it's essentially a cross-body ride with
Yeah.
your leg across the legs, and I'm blanking on the name for it.
I do not know these things.
And basically 2 different times. Eventually, he gets the points for it.
Yeah.
And that's the match. It was fun. I was really impressed for 2 times actually. Alibi was able to block a choke.
Yeah.
By just going no and just deciding that he wasn't going to get choked.
Alibi could just stand up with dude on his back
Yeah.
and just be like, don't go on my back.
I was really impressed, though, at under 99 kilograms that Daniel was able to consistently get the back in the way that he was doing it. Because a lot of times, again, at the 99 plus 99 kilograms, the guys, like physically, because they're so large, have a hard time holding the back long term from this position. We saw Daniel minutes of this match holding this position. And the second time he held it, he wasn't quite as strong in the position. But the first time, he was really, really strong in this kind of standing crossbody ride over.
A crossbody ride.
It is a crossbody ride.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was standing in that position.
It's a leg ride.
Yeah, but it's from standing.
Yeah.
For like a while, and then looking to shoot that hook. And Alibi was doing a good job of blocking the foot out. It was nice to see for the bigger guys to like be able to counter the stand-up like this, because it is always there, and we just, a lot of times big guys don't have the core strength to be able to hold themselves up for that long, so it was like physiologically really impressive to see Daniel be able to hold himself up that long, score, and win. I think he was clearly in the lead of this most of the time, so I'm curious to see him at the Worlds.
Yep, it'll be fun.
Let's see, on to plus 99. This was a fun one. This is a weird finish. We have Mansur Makhmedov, or Makhanov. Mansur Makhmedov. I don't know what I said before. Versus, we don't have his full name.
No, it was D.
It was D, okay.
They didn't have...
He's Maori.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we saw him versus Josh Saunders in the finals. I think it's the same guy we saw there. We saw Mansur here from the full guard go omoplata. Which is something we don't see very often.
You don't see it from anybody often.
No, but especially at heavyweight. I think we've seen like Shigoli go for it before.
That is a mental note. Okay, sorry.
Yep. And we see Mansur here go to omoplata, and then we see D lift him up and slam him in the omoplata and not be able to get out, which is a really interesting, like, we'll talk about slams here a little more in the women's divisions. And then Mansur goes, okay, and like gets his posture down, but he's never able to get enough pressure on the omoplata to finish. He goes Imanari grip.
Dalton.
It is Dalton.
It's Dalton.
Okay.
I just found it.
Okay, they've talked about him. I've heard guys on podcasts talk about him before.
On the, what's it called? On the...
Smooth Comp.
On Smooth Comp, it's D. Teray and a lot of stuff. And then I just found it in the registrations. It's Dalton.
So Dalton today. We've seen, again, fun grappler. We've seen him before. The guys at his gym speak really highly of like his just physicality and like what he's able to do kind of innately. But Mansur goes and reaches over with the Imanari grip for the Imanari choke is an S grip of the hands from the omoplata position, and you reach over their face. Sometimes you can go under the neck, but sometimes you can also just face crank, and that's exactly what Mansur does here. He goes, okay, face crank, and then he finishes like an omoplata face crank, like an Imanari choke over the face to win. And it's not a technique we see like very frequently.
No, because it's also a flexibility thing. Like there's a lot of flexibility to be able to hold that position.
A strength in the core.
And it's a crazy one.
It's not something you see at heavyweight. You see it at the smaller weight classes for guys that can do like really good looping chokes. So like we'll play a heavy omoplata game. You'll see it occasionally.
And I wound up like, so I go on these little tangents sometimes. I wound up watching his other matches because I was like, dude, if this guy like omoplated like everybody. Like, that's freaking wild.
You always have to check.
Yeah.
You always check. Whenever you see a weird sub,
he didn't, but,
you always have to check the earlier matches to make sure.
Dude was good. Like, he definitely...
I mean, his earlier matches, you have the notes here, that he has a 3-0 back take win in his previous match, and then his first match is a 33-second ankle lock from single leg X.
Yeah.
So, like, a quick submission guy, which is cool to see. I love seeing guys. We actually have a guy, again, from the Kazakh national team.
Yeah.
at ADCC, which is exciting. I know the Kazakhs are really, really like big into the ADCC feeder, so I'm really happy to see them there. So that's the men's divisions. Let's move on to the women. You have anything else on the men's divisions?
Nope.
Okay, let's move on to the women's divisions. We have Adele Florentino. You picked this up. Now in Atos.
Yeah.
She was Gracie Barra before. Now she's Atos. And she beats Kane Yamada, who's out of
Igloo.
Yeah, which you told me was Kenta's gym.
Yeah.
I forgot that was the name of Kenta's gym.
She's the wrestling chick that we've seen before.
Yeah, we've seen her at trials. We were really impressed with her. Did she win the last trials under 55?
I think she always gets second place.
Okay.
I think she's always,
Yep.
the bridesmaid and not the bride.
Mm-hmm. So, but she was impressive. This was a fun match, good wrestling, and then the sequence that finishes it for me was we watched it like a bunch of times in the pre-show, just like
because you couldn't see it really well on the actual
on the
flow
broadcast
video, but if you go to Odell's what's it called, Instagram, there's a video of her hitting it. Yeah. From like the other direction where you
from like the stands almost.
Yeah, where you can actually see what happens.
So, want to run through it? We want to do it?
No, go.
So, Kane basically goes and tries to jump over Adele's guard. And Adele does a great job of like essentially kind of balloon sweeping over and like keeping. And then Kane bangs a knee cut through and like almost gets past. And Adele, like in the scramble, stands up and is able to jump behind Kane's back.
Yeah.
But she does it in a way where, you're going to get shucked off. And she has an interesting grip thing about the grip she has here. She
has like across the face. Like not the face, but around the head.
Yeah.
She has like around an underhook, but an underhook grabbing the neck.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Like you're almost going to bulldog or like go to the front on a guillotine. Like from the overhook, you're going to slide through like an arm in. That grip. And then because she realizes that she's falling off here and she can't score, she can't get the hooks, and she can't actually like finish getting the back, she keeps an underhook over top of Kane's arm.
You mean overhook?
An overhook, right? The opposite underhook.
Well, you said underhook over, and I was like, yes.
An overhook. And then she slides off of the top, and because she's sliding off the top, she can pull her arm. Your body's arm is really tight and like strong next to you. You can pull someone's arm off, essentially off of the top of their body, and then fall belly down into it while they are trying to like lift you in, because your entire body weight is falling off of their arm. Yeah. You can't like keep your arm in, and Adele's able to hit the arm bar.
And because the other thing is, because you're taking them face into the mat, everybody's first reaction is to put their hands down. Yeah. Is to brace the fall.
Mm-hmm. And so you tend to open it wide.
Yeah, and you just it's I don't even know if it's a reaction you can really stop from doing.
It's tough.
Because like, especially if somebody's on it and they're pulling it, you're going face first into the.
Just a beautiful counter sequence from Adele here.
And I mean, and she hits the armbar in the air.
Yeah.
Like it's
off the top, and she slides off, and it's beautiful. And it's something that obviously she has worked on. You can see it. But it's that great little interface of like, oh, this is drilled technique, but also like a scramble in the moment, it's there. Kind of like what we see Mika Gaval do a lot, where it's like, oh, you've drilled this, but you've also seen your opportunity in your opening to throw for it and know it's there. Was great. Again, we've seen Adele before. She's a trials winner previously, 2022, so it is awesome to see her back. She is now at the under 55 kilogram division. She's in Theon's weight class, so it will be very exciting. So moving on to the women's under 65 kilogram division, we have Suleiman Lowenthal versus Nadia Franklin. Yeah. Two women I think we've seen before in finals or in other trials.
Nadia Franklin is the last winner.
Okay, for the first Asian and Oceanic trials.
Yes.
Okay.
And we've seen her a few other times in different things.
This was a fun match. Yeah. This was a really good showing for both women.
It was lanky women.
Yeah, but it's really funny because it's at 65 kilos, under 65 kilos. So it's like, it is
what I.
It was almost a mirror match.
It's what I have to go against, and they're always like a foot taller than me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, both women were really tall and lanky. I was super impressed here with Lowenthal's flexibility. Yes. And her ability to get the high guard and go for the armbar. She wins via armbar here. Like but you see her a couple of different times. There's one of the coolest moments of the weekend for me was actually seeing her transition from the guard and then essentially she was in the guard. She plays a nice high guard, like she's going to go for the armbar from the guard, and you can see Nadia Franklin like having to defend it. Yeah. And Lowenthal does a really good job of keeping Nadia Franklin's posture over the top of her so that she can't posture up and rip out of the armbar.
Yeah, and she does that the first time, and then in overtime is when she's like, I want to be a gangster.
Yeah, well, in the first section, she's able to get the armbar and almost go to the flower sweep, and then from that position go directly into mount. And it was a really interesting like body type thing where you have two women that are very, very flexible at under 65 kilos. She's able to go under for the flower sweep armbar, but because Nadia Franklin is so far over, it's not that traditional like hip over into the flower sweep and a mount. They just kind of like roll, like do like a little roll, and Lowenthal is just in mount.
Yeah.
And it was wild. And then in overtime, like you were saying, really similar position where Lowenthal she has an overhook on the arm and she's just climbing the high guard, kind of like Josh Cisneros TP, like you have the calf over the shoulder and you see Nadia Franklin kind of going like, this is getting, she's trying to scoot, she's trying to get back and not have the same thing happen before of, okay, I'm going to get taken over in a mount.
Yeah.
And as she's trying to pull out, she gets armbarred. But like you said, the most gangster thing in this whole sequence is that Lowenthal pulls guard.
She jumps
in the beginning of this.
Jumps guard.
Yeah, she jumps guard.
Yeah.
And she does it in the way where they were both very, very close, and Lowenthal just gets the overhook and goes, okay, and just like hops up.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was like the nicest guard jump ever because it didn't slam into the person's knees, and it was just like, yep, she is elected to Levi Jones-Leary. Like, hey man, I'm just gonna do whatever it takes and play my game. I'm jumping guard here. I'm going to take the -1, and I believe in me that it's going to work out for me. Which, again, we've seen athletes it work for.
Yeah.
We've seen athletes it not work for. It's really cool to see. It's really cool to see when you know you're down to be able to pull a sub out like this.
Oh, yeah. And it definitely looked like her jam is arm bars.
Oh, yeah.
So she knew, like, I needed to get to this arm bar position. So she was like, fuck points.
Because overtime, you have 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, and she was doing well, and she would have scored had they been in the point section of the match when she initially gets to mount there.
Yeah.
But in the later end of the match, it was a very even match with good attempts on the legs from each lady.
Yeah.
And I think, like, having the confidence in your game to know, hey, I'm going to take this -1 and I'm going to make it work is really important at this level. And it's cool to see when athletes know their game and know their competition well enough to be able to make that like really tough decision to take that -1. Because ADCC, a 7 scoring match is not common.
Yeah.
Like ADCC is very low scoring most of the time. And so -1s a lot of times are enough to lose you the match. Like Big Dan, notably at West Coast Trials versus Kyle Bain, lost the match.
Yeah.
Mateusz Szynski versus Oliver Taza, European Trials, lost the match. Helena Kravar, North American Trials, lost the match. Like those individual things can lose you the matches in these finals. So it's cool to see when it works out.
Yeah.
So anything else in this match?
Nope.
This is fun in under 65 kilogram division. I don't know who from the women is at what division yet. That's one thing I'm actually really struggling with because with the new weight classes, where everyone's slotted out.
Yeah.
For the men, I have a pretty good idea because we've historically had those weight classes. But for the women, we have a lot of movement, and so I need to get my head around what division she's in now. So the last one, a little less exciting, but we have Nikki Lloyd-Griffiths versus Gay Santina. This is a really interesting match. I think Nikki Lloyd-Griffiths was ahead here.
Yeah.
And then halfway through the match, we have Nikki Lloyd-Griffiths jump guard.
Yeah.
And then with an overhook. And then Gase looks up and kind of goes, and then just like slams.
Yeah.
And then I went, that's illegal. I wonder if they will DQ her for that. And it's about 10 seconds go by.
Yeah. And they're like,
and they kind of what? And they kind of stop.
DQ.
And then I was like, yep, you're getting DQ'd.
Yeah.
And they stand up and they DQ. And I think what Gase was saying was that
there was an arm lock.
Yeah, and
I mean, you have like that really like the mirror lock kind of from there.
Right, but usually they'll have to swing down.
Yeah.
When Gase slams, Nicola Griffiths has her head.
Yeah.
Like she's not in a position to do the arm lock.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a reasonable DQ. It's an unfortunate DQ. I hate seeing DQs in the finals. But it's one of those like, man, you and your coach like know where you can slam and like in the rules meetings again, I've been fortunate enough to be an ADCC judge and to go to a lot of those rule meetings, and you and I both did the cert to get our Class C ref certification for ADCC. Like, we like rules. It is just really unfortunate when you have an athlete just like have an error like that where it's like, you were having a good match and you just You just thought you could slam there, and you couldn't. It's unfortunate. So Nick Griffith moves on to the plus 65 kilogram division for ADCC. If anyone takes away anything from this, it's know your rules. Like, no, in ADCC, in order to be able to slam, you have to be in a locked-in submission.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even be in, like, a mid-submission. Like, you cannot slam from a triangle. Sorry, from a teepee.
Yeah.
Unless the choke is happening.
Yeah.
Like, you can't slam from a buggy choke unless you are actively being
It would be kind of really
choked.
stupid if you were in a locked TP to slam, because you're kind of slamming yourself into it.
Yeah. but I'm saying, like, but ADCC, like we saw in the plus 99 kilogram match with Masur in the omoplata, like, he got slammed there by Teddy.
Yeah. That
That was legal because Teddy was in a finishing submission.
Yeah.
Like, he was in an omoplata that was locked in, that was, like, trying to be finished. He was able to slam out of that. You're specifically not able to slam in the guard in ADCC.
Yeah.
When Big J does the rules seminars in the US here and in Mexico and in Canada, he talks about that this exact scenario specifically, that if they are in the guard, you cannot slam. Like, it's not allowed. Same thing with the Marcelo and Rico Rodriguez.
Yeah.
When they're on the back, if there's no choking, you can't slam. That match is able to continue because it was the world final, and it was not a world final. It was at the Worlds, and both guys were okay with it.
Yeah.
It's also a different era. That match was 2003, I think.
2007
maybe, something like
2000 and something.
Yeah. So there we have it. We have the final trials done for ADCC. It has been when we say it every 2-year cycle, that it's been the wildest selection of, like, qualifiers we've had ever. This year, I think we have the as strong qualifiers as we have ever had. I don't envy anyone coming into this world tournament. No one has an easy shot. The brackets are stacked full of just phenomenal athletes, and it'll be a really fun event come August.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
I got our flights booked, got hotels booked.
Yeah.
I am amped for ADCC Vegas. And if you're in Vegas for ADCC, hit us up. Let's get dinner. Have a good time.
Yeah.
We did it. We didn't do it last time because we were super busy, but this time hopefully it'll be a little easier of a week. Maybe.
No, it won't.
It'll be fun.
You know it won't.
We got to eat eventually. So hit us up. We'll talk jiu-jitsu after the event one day. So let's move into who's number 123. Let's start with the main event and go down from there because I think it's a good enough place to start.
Okay.
We have Nicholas Margali versus Wagner Hosha. A good matchup, but definitely one that we kind of the result that we expected in this one. It was like Margali by sub.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be like an arm triangle. I think you thought it was from back maybe or from mount or something.
I think mount was where I came from.
We're kind of both right.
Yeah.
It was Wagner eventually. Margali just posted online. Watch my match breakdown of versus Wagner. What timing? On his
but it
group
is
page.
But it was Nicholas Margali getting basically a standard armbar from S mount.
Yeah.
I mean,
you've seen a textbook armbar from S mount. That's what it looked like.
What I did want to discuss was his little hip switch pass.
Yeah, that was the moment of the match for me. It was like it was pretty even on the feet. Again, Margali was bigger by about 30 pounds, 25 pounds versus Wagner, but that's never stopped Wagner ever. I think, but 208 is pretty heavy for Wagner.
Yeah,
Wagner historically, I mean, again, in UFC he was at 45.
Dude, their shit talking before this match was pretty great.
It was phenomenal. I usually am not in for it, but it's so funny to watch, like, kind of respectful Wagner, and then you see the guy that competes and you're like, that's the same guy. And then Margali posted the video of him kicking AJ off the stage, and I was like, this is just like, because, like, you could tell there was both guys just kind of pecking.
He posted that video, and then the next one was like him saying like Wagner was like the second coming of Christ or something. I was like, what the hell?
What's
like,
being lost in translation?
Yeah, there was some stuff going on there.
But there was two things that were neat. One that you have in the notes is the way that Wagner tried to counter Margali's takedown was the exact counter that Gary Tonin did to Wagner in ADCC 2017.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you go back and watch their match where Gary Tonin's doing like the Superman in the wing and like rolling under.
Yeah.
That is the exact counter, not with the arms out like Gary Tonin did, but it is the exact same roll-through counter that Tonin does to Wagner in that match.
Oh, okay.
And I thought it was really funny. I was like, look at that. What a weird, like, comeback move to, like, try. It didn't quite work here because Margali did a really good job of settling the hips. when both guys were at 77. Was Wagner? Were they at 66 or 77? 77, I think.
Yeah.
Back
I don't
in the
think
day.
he got to 60.
I don't think Gary ever did. Gary went down to 66 this last one.
But I don't think
previously
I don't
it was
think
only
Wagner
77.
Can get,
No,
not
not anymore.
Not the older.
Yeah, not the TRT Wagner.
TRT Wagner.
Yeah, that's why he's at 208 though.
Yeah.
This was Margali getting the back, controlling Wagner very well. The hip switch pass was the coolest thing of the match, though, I think, which was Wagner playing guard, and then Margali was trying to get over Wagner's hooks from like the middle of Wagner's guard.
Yeah, and he kind of did the textbook what they teach you to do, but it's very hard to actually hit, which is you take your outside knee and you kind of hit their hook with your outside knee so that hook moves, and you kind of switch your hips as you do it. So you go right over the leg.
I think someone online, there's a little GIF, there's a little looping GIF of the moment it happens, and you can see it, and you're like, damn, that's impressive.
Also, what's it called? The two brothers in New York that do bolos all the time.
Meows?
The Meows break it down.
Okay.
Because
they have really good
Meows
breakdowns.
do breakdowns. Now, half the time they're in Portuguese, so I don't understand what they're actually
half
saying.
the time they're in Portuguese, but you can watch what they do, and you're like,
and you can get it. And sometimes they have English subtitles, not all
which
the
is
time.
not all the time, but sometimes they do, and it's always a treat when they do.
Yeah, but and sometimes they teach it in English. You never really know what you're gonna get.
You never know what you're
gonna
get.
But the Meows generally, and they do some hilarious jokes that sometimes catch me way off guard.
Yeah, if you're not watching the Meows Instagram, is it Joao Paulo?
It's
Joao, right?
Joao, yeah. But they break it down of how exactly it happens and like how to do it and everything. And but anyway, I like that little pass.
Yeah.
Because I like hip switch passes. I just always just try to land my ass on top of them. Yeah. Rather than actually
having
stay
the
in the air
finesse like Margali.
Yeah.
Margali's long, and he's like, but
I don't have any finesse.
The hip motion to get this done was really impressive. It was a very impressive pass here. But sort of once Margali got past, that was really the beginning of the end. He gets the mount, he gets the back mount. Really impressed with Wagner's defense the entire time. But when you're fighting a guy as veteran as Wagner, that's kind of what you should expect. You should expect just impenetrable defense that eventually a guy like Margali can wade through. Yeah. But it's gonna take some time. Yeah. And it did take some time.
And this was the match that I said when you have chippiness during a match.
Yeah.
Because Nicholas has a whole conversation with Wagner's corner, but you can't tell exactly what's being said. And they asked him what was being said, and he was like, "Oh, it's about my English," but then wouldn't say what it was. And so I don't know I don't know what they said.
It was weird.
It was chippy enough that you knew it wasn't.
Well, they stopped at one point because they were getting chippy. It was an odd main event.
Yeah.
But it was kind of what we thought. It was the main event.
Yeah.
Moving on to a match anything else on the Wagner versus Margali matchup? Margali really good. He's doing good at Nogi. We're going to see him at ADCC. What'd you expect? It's Nicholas Margali. Moving on, let's talk about Andrew Tackett versus Tommy Langacker. Andrew Tackett was like, I'm going to be a human backpack.
Yeah.
You're Tommy Langacker. You have crazy subs. I'm going to get to your back. The way that he gets to Tommy's back is wild here. He counters a wrestle up from Langacker with an overhook with a gut whizzer. Yeah. Which is basically a whizzer, but it touches the body.
It goes all the way around your waist rather than just
right the back to the other side of your kidney. Are the kidneys here? Are they here?
Rib cage. Let's say
whatever the love handles
let's say rib cage, because generally so if somebody has an overhook. No, if somebody has an underhook, you overhook it, right? Or am I doing this wrong? Okay, Langacker had what? What did he have?
Definitely had an arm. Definitely had an underhook or overhook in this matchup.
Yeah, it was Tommy Lee's under. There we go. He had an underhook.
In your notes, Miranda.
Yes, I know. That's why I take these notes, because I don't remember shit. Tommy is coming up to take the back because he does the wrestle up to the back. Yeah. And as he's doing that and his arm is high, Andrew, instead of just overhooking his underhook, he does an entire arm around the back, grabbing the far side. Yeah. And it sticks Tommy's arm, so Tommy's arm gets stuck. And then he just is like, fuck it, I'm going to jump his back, and just jumps his back.
Yeah. He does a flat roll, a flat pass on top with that gut whizzer. and then gets Tommy's back. And it was like,
is that a gut whizzer? I thought gut whizzer's underneath.
So maybe. I just learned gut whizzer Sunday.
Oh,
so
really?
I got really excited about it.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I countered someone's gut whizzer on me, a wrestler, and we talked and she explained it to me. I was like, oh, that's cool. And I learned a new word, and I got excited to use it on the podcast.
Okay.
So it's probably not gut whizzer at all. It's just an overhook,
Yeah.
a deep overhook on the back towards the top side of the kidney. So my bad. Not gut whizzer at all, but a very, very deep across the back overhook, essentially, that he counters Tommy. Like we talked about Andrew Tackett versus PJ Barch and how crazy that match, and versus Oliver Taza.
Yeah.
This was more of the same.
Well, Tommy also has tendency to make mistakes. He just is able to get out of most of the mistakes he makes.
Yeah,
if
he's
that makes
just
any sense.
super durable.
Yeah.
And can like fight through.
And he can teleport to your back in weird ways.
Yes, he's just an odd guy to grapple because he's very, very high level.
And we know that his feet are made of plastic.
He could bend his legs like 80, like 100,
Yeah, it's wild.
210 degrees or something.
It's crazy shit.
And then eventually this was just Andrew Tackett being a backpack on Tommy Langacker. And I was really impressed because he was trying to crack down, like use the crowbar on the back of the neck and push Langacker down. He just couldn't push Langacker down. Like I wonder how strong Tommy Langacker's neck is that he was unable to crack down Langacker, and eventually had to get him to the hip. And then eventually, after some time here, hand fights, gets the rear naked choke in.
Yeah.
And like you can see how hard he has to squeeze to get Langacker out of there. Another super impressive performance from Andrew Tackett. He's not my front runner for 77 kilos at Worlds.
No, but he'll be fun to watch.
He'll be top 8.
Yeah.
Top 8 seed for sure. Because he has looked crazy good. Again, I want to see that match with Mika Gabao.
Yeah.
I want to see Tommy in it, but I really want to see Andrew Tackett in it because that was the match we were supposed to get at the 170-pound tournament.
Yeah.
We were supposed to get it here. Like, I really want to see these guys go against Mika Gabao. Both guys, honestly, because like Langacker's super exciting as well. Has a really interesting style.
Didn't he already go against him?
He did, actually. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Andrew Tackett's the match to make.
Yeah.
I want to see both those guys healthy, and I have no idea who takes that because both guys are so dynamic, such great submission hunters. Like I lean Mika just because of the experience, but man,
Andrew
it's gonna be
Tackett has an
exciting.
ability to think on his feet. That's kind of insanity.
Yeah,
like
literally on his feet. Like the way that he counters wrestling exchanges is wild. Mika tends to counter them on the ground,
and they're not super
they're not rote. They're pretty organic.
Yeah, they're not something that you can like almost plan for because you don't really know which direction he's actually going to go into.
Yeah. Super athlete.
He doesn't go like if you watch a match sometimes after you've seen a lot of grappling, you can watch a match and you can kind of get an idea of how they're moving, what they're about to do. Mm-hmm. And with Andrew Tackett, I can never figure out because I try to like type and take notes as I watch the match. And with him, I'm like, I can't even like think about exactly what, you
have to pause and go back.
I have to pause and I have to be like, how exactly did he do that?
Yeah.
Like, and
it's
try
just
to figure
uncommon movement. And we do a lot of commentary as well. And over the years, you get used to.
I wouldn't want to do commentary for him.
Because you kind of just have to say like what he has done. And that's always a really bad way to do commentary. You want to kind of, when you do commentary, be predictive and kind of explain to the audience what's happening.
Yeah.
As, he is setting up this thing, so you're looking for it.
Like, he's going to come up, so he's going to go do this. And
versus like, he has countered this back whizzer with this move. Like, I just saw him do it. Like, being predictive is one of the, I think, elements I really enjoy in commentary. And I can't imagine what it's like.
As a competitor, you kind of have an idea of what's about to happen to you, so then you counter what's about to happen. Mm-hmm. But when you have somebody like him, he doesn't do that traditional movement, so all of a sudden he's on your back, and you don't really know how it happened.
He's on your back in a weird way with a transition that you probably haven't seen frequently, if ever. And it's like, okay, like this is a really uncommon back take that you're not seeing once a month. Yeah, like a guy like Langacker has seen it before, but he is not getting reps in against this back take. Like, this is not something a lot of guys can even do, better yet, like Andrew Tackett.
Yes.
So, wild, he subs Langacker, and we got to see that Mika match. Like, that's the match to make. Moving on, we have Felipe Pena versus Rafael Lovato Jr.
It was a decision. It was a
Legends match.
It's a very much so a hand fighting match.
Yeah.
Lots of kind of going back and forth. At some point, Pena does pull Or no.
Lovato pulls, right?
No, but I thought Penna pulled at one point. Yeah, Penna sits to guard after round 1.
Okay.
And Penna tries to Choi bar him. And then it goes into the legs, and they kind of play the leg game a little bit. And then
a little bit.
And then they both get up, and then Lovato takes the floor. Like, what I did like seeing in this match is differently than Lovato's last match against Pedro Marino.
Yep.
Where they just stayed on their feet the entire time. And Lovato, like, at one point, I think, sat, but it wasn't for a very long period of time. Like, Lovato at least sat and tried to play a half guard game and tried a leg attack at the end. He wasn't able to get it moving, but he did at the very, very end.
Yeah.
And you need some sort of action, especially when you have a match that's not really having a lot of deciding factors going on.
Yeah. I am kind of concerned with this match and then Lovato getting that under 99 invite. I'm like, ooh, this is a pacing that kind of concerns me. Like, again, I love seeing Lovato in there, but again, and Penna is super dangerous and super veteran experience and tends to also play a slower paced game. Lovato also plays a slow. So this could have been just a matchup thing, but it is one of those like.
And we had the all-star team because we had Buchecha with Philippe Penna.
Yeah, in the corner.
Yeah, and we had Victor Hugo with Lovato.
Yeah.
So we had
as old school and as like. Not Victor Hugo's not really old school, but like as experienced as you can get in the corner.
But they're all like that old school game. Like, okay, Victor Hugo, not really, because he's like a guard player.
He's an old school guard player, but he has some flair to him, like from a big guy standpoint. But
yeah.
So, but it was a match. Philippe Penna took the decision. I think it was reasonable for Penna to take it. I think Penna he was able to do more.
Penna had won both rounds anyway. Yeah. Or he at least had the judges' favor in both rounds.
Yeah, I thought it was very reasonable. I would have loved to see more from both guys, but given the matchup, that's kind of what we expected. Potentially, honestly, we'll let us see these guys in a shorter match. Maybe they would have kind of pushed it a little further, but with how they play the game, I think both guys would be like, you could have a 30-minute match, and this would kind of be the way they played it. Moving on to a really exciting, I don't want to call it an upset because we did kind of talk about it last week. I think it is an upset. JT Torres gets submitted by Nicky Ryan, hasn't been submitted since 2013. Like, 11 years. That dude doesn't get, it's like the Dean Lister 17-year streak, like doesn't get put away, competes at the highest level in the world, doesn't get subbed by guys. You had me go back and rewatch the ending sequence, and there was so many little pieces that I missed here.
The other thing that I forgot to point out to you is like Nicky Ryan's attempt at a dog bar during it.
Yeah, that was neat too.
He tried to dog bar when Torres went into the legs, which was and it was a weird dog bar position. It was a bizarre one.
Yeah, but it was there, and Torres had to kind of deal with it. I want to break down. Do you have stuff at the beginning you want to break down before the finishing sequence? Any notes? Anything that you thought was interesting?
No, they were both doing. I mean, great shots. I mean, those shots would have taken down anybody else.
Yeah,
that I can imagine. Like both of them had really effective.
People talk about how good Nicky's wrestling is, and we know how good JT Torres is. Like again, 2 world titles on that inside trip.
We're always sort of afraid of Nicky Ryan's wrestling if it's going to break one of his feet.
His knees,
or not.
His knees need to stay intact for ADCC.
I didn't understand right before round 1 decision went for Torres. The ref brought them both in and said something to them about stalling on their feet. And I was like, both these mofos are shooting and actually doing shit. Do you know how many matches we have where nothing happens and you don't call stalling? What the hell is wrong with you? But anyway, that's just my opinion.
Yeah. This was fun. So let's talk about the finishing sequence because it was there's a lot more to it than I thought on the first watch, and I'm happy you had me go back and rewatch it. We kind of frame by framed it at certain places. Yeah. So essentially, from a really interesting back take counter, like JT Torres is doing the hook on the arm, and it's an uncommon back take, but we see it occasionally. Nicky Ryan.
It was he had his legs he was completely in a split, but like a split across down.
Yeah, and you can hook the back of the arm, and I see it more for gi guys.
Yeah,
gi guys will do this back take
it initially started with Nicky shooting a low single, and because JT was too above and on top of him, he does what they do in, like, you see in collegiate wrestling, which is like they grab the far hip and they put they do like around the far hip.
Yeah.
Right? Because then they can't do anything. And then he holds on to that. And as he holds on to that far hip, that's when Nikki goes after the leg and tries to dog bar the leg, which is just, I guess that gets him off the bat. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it was from then on, you can go.
Yeah. Then, so in this basically now what turns into a backdate sequence, Nikki Ryan spins and then he goes to his back.
Yeah.
And then because to avoid getting his back taken by JT Torres.
Yeah.
And then you see JT Torres go, okay, cool, I'm in passing position. And you see JT Torres from this enter into a saddle.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, JT Torres is in a saddle. He's in a good position. He's got his leg locked, and JT Torres goes, JT Torres, if you don't think he's a good 50-50 player, go back and watch his match on Fight to Win with Wagner.
Yeah.
Like, those two dudes spend the entire match in and out and in and out of 50-50 and no-gi, and, like, very good 50-50 player, saddle player, very similar position there.
Yeah.
And you see JT Torres go, cool, I'm going to pass off of this saddle position, which is something we've seen JT Torres do before. He gets up, and then something interesting happens is you see Nikki Ryan reach under and almost like you said, go for like a waiter sweep, but it's not quite a waiter sweep. He's trapping JT Torres's far side leg in so that now JT Torres's leg that is inside the saddle position in the good position is trapped.
Yeah.
Like JT Torres essentially trapped his own leg there.
Yeah, his foot is stuck.
Yeah, and so he can't remove the center foot that is in the saddle that was previously the good foot that he was going to use to pass and open up, because Nikki Ryan has grabbed his far side leg. And the camera angle has changed.
And the other thing is also JT is putting a lot of pressure down on it. Yeah. Because he's trying to stay up. He's trying to stay on top because he wants to pass from that position.
He kind of doesn't have his balance there.
So, but he keeps his balance there, but
Nikki Ryan does a good job of threading his leg under, and like he's off balancing JT Torres's post leg and like holding it forward with a foot hook. Yeah. And you were talking about his balance and like how he's trying to pass.
Yeah, because he's trying to stay on top, and he's almost doing like a headquarters pass. I mean, in theory, he's like floating on top for the headquarters pass. But the problem is when he goes to take the back step or back foot and step away from that one leg, Nikki
Ryan has his foot.
Yeah, he has the hook on it, so he can't do anything.
Right.
It's a really like unconventional. It's almost like that reverse guard position, but it's only over one leg. And it's a really weird, like, I don't know how many people play in that position, but it's a really like unconventional. It's a really spot to be in.
Odd saddle trainers. I mean, and people talk about Nikki Ryan having insane knowledge and like especially in his leg locks, like just being an insane technician. This is kind of like an insight into that because you see him grab the leg, you see him kind of tilt JT Torres to the side in traditionally what would be like a tech out position for JT Torres, who'd then pass. But because Nikki Ryan has his leg in essentially what is the start of a weird waiter guard position, he's not underhooking the leg, he's just holding it. He pulls the leg up into his armpit, and now he can clamp his own legs. And because JT Torres's leg that he was using to pass in the center has been trapped by this position, JT Torres gets stuck in like a weird middle ground where he can't tech out at all. Nikki Ryan has his leg in the ankle lock position, and there's nothing on the outside of it, and Nikki Ryan can just hip up in maybe like 15 seconds and just tap JT Torres. Yeah. JT Torres' only option is to kind of go for a toe hold, but Nikki Ryan's feet are behind him. He can't go to the ankle lock. He can't really do anything except do a scramble tech out. And as he starts to kind of do that, Nikki Ryan just bridges really hard and like ankle locks him. And it was a super technical like thought process, and all of it weirdly, it all looked intentional from Nikki Ryan, which was wild to think about. I was like, oh, he's been in this position. He is specifically blocking JT Torres' outside leg. He's specifically blocking the leg inside. He's specifically now reaching for the outside leg so that he can trap it, so that he can off-balance it when Torres comes up to try to put pressure in to open his knees to start knee cut passing. It was just a wild, like, thoughtful sequence of him being able to trap JT Torres in this spot and then ankle lock him. Like, there has not been a dude to do this to JT Torres in a decade. Yeah. Like, dude doesn't get submitted. Hasn't got submitted as a black belt in a decade. Like, more. So, crazy impressive performance. This is the Nikki Ryan that we want to see at ADCC. This is the guy that for years everyone has talked about. Like, he can do it. He's going to win. He can win. Like, this is the guy. So I really hope that we continue to see him healthy and like in shape, and he works on his cardio and all those kind of things that have plagued his career throughout like being 15 and being at ADCC all the way up to like now being in his early 20s.
Being 22.
Being 22 with years of injury time.
Of course, JT was not 22.
Yeah,
Though it said
JT was 34.
Though it said he was 22 on the paperwork.
So, yeah, really impressive. Again, I hope that JT I hope that JT shows up in perfect form for ADCC. But man, this is a really impressive performance from Nicky Ryan. Like really thoughtful performance, and this is the game that we've always heard about, and we've seen flashes of in competition. If this dude shows up, he's a force in this division. So I'm excited for it. Anything else on the match?
Nope.
Sucks to see JT Torres get submitted. One of my favorite dudes.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Jasmine Rocha. Jasmine Rocha defeats Emily Ferreira by Aoki lock 4.5 minutes in.
Yep.
This is, I think, the most aggressive we've seen from Jasmine Rocha. Like, she's aggressive in trials. We've seen her aggressive, but I think this is what we're going to see moving forward. I think Jasmine really likes that heavy, aggressive, angry, in-your-face, like chippy style of grappling. That seems to be what gets her going and what she likes. I think there's more of that to come.
Yeah.
A lot of leg locks. Jasmine's looking for subs, they're both kind of trading, and then Jasmine grabs an outside ankle lock and then just turns it over and cranks
it.
And gets the Aoki lock pretty quickly. It was nasty.
Yeah.
Emily taps soon enough so that it doesn't like blow her knee out, but
I don't know, because she was not.
Well,
she had somebody help her get off the stage. So
I said that too quickly, and I was like, in hindsight, I don't actually.
No, I think she fucked up her knee.
Yeah, bad. Jasmine cranks
or her foot, one or the other,
real quick.
Yeah.
It looked like a lot of pressure on the outside of the ankle.
Yeah.
And like where the interface of the foot there.
Yeah.
That's where it looked like. That's typically where that kind of Aoki lock will attack. Really good sub. Yeah. I think this is more from a style. I think we learned more about Jasmine from a stylistic perspective, anything, than the technical perspective here.
Yeah.
It's Jasmine loves kicking women in the chest to pass.
Yeah.
And she has a lot of technique and tact to the way that she does it. But I
like kicking people in the chest too to pass.
Yes, that's my wife now.
Yeah.
She did it to me the past 2 weeks. She's like, Jasmine does it. I'm like, I know, but like you're kicking me in the chest, but she's using it to pass and sweep, and I'm like, okay, I can't be too mad at it. But yeah, this is. I think this is what we're gonna see at the World Championships. Yeah. She's at under 55, right?
Yes.
I think yes. So she's in Fion's division again. We could see that rematch.
Bantamweight, so yeah, she's a little.
Yep. So it's exciting. Again, Rocha looked really good here and looked more aggressive than ever, but now has even more technique and even more experience to back it up. So very exciting. Let's move on to the next one. We have Diogo Reis. Give me the name because you have it phonetically written out in the notes.
Motage.
Really?
Yeah.
Motage. So Shea. Shea is super flexible. We've seen him a little bit in the IBJJF series. Yeah. We covered him at Euros. We covered him at Pans. He is gi and no gi, but I think I've seen more of him in the gi recently. Yes. We know that he is insanely flexible.
Yes.
And that was on display
and
here.
He does that thing that super flexible people can do where if they need their guard back, they just grab their foot and put it back in.
Yeah.
Like
they jailbreak it. They're just like, no, okay.
Yeah, whenever I see that, I'm always like, that's fun.
Well, he also does the thing that we see like Maisa Bastos, a lot of the women at Roosterweight do, where it's like you're past their guard and they just go, oh, and their legs are behind their head, and like they're doing the circus trick where they sit in that inverted position with their legs literally behind their back and body, and you're like, I can't physically get past your legs because I can't move them past me. Diogo does a really good job of like dealing with this and like getting his head. The only way you can pass this is you get your head in the stomach, you pressure down, and you flatten them to north-south, and then eventually after a minute or two of this, he's able to get Shea to start to like begin a wrestle up to reestablish the guard to the front, not the inverted guard. And Diogo goes, cool, anaconda time.
Yeah.
And then is it Darce or anaconda?
I don't know.
I'm thinking about it. I think it might be an anaconda because he kind of switches his hands there. Could be a Darce. I think it's anaconda. But Diogo just goes, whoop, locks it in, and then just has a crazy quick squeeze because Shea taps pretty quick. And that's that's the match. Beautiful play by Diogo. Exactly how you want to deal with a guard like this. Exactly how you deal with like a guy with insane attributes like Shea. Like you're not going to be able to like kneecap pass him.
It surprised me. Shea was 150 or 146.
Yeah, bigger than I thought he was going to be.
Yeah, because he makes like 120 something for IBJJ.
Like 126, for Rooster. But again, if he's not cutting weight, if Diogo's not going to go, if he's not going to go below 145 because it's a 45-pound match, Diogo's looking for that title.
Yeah.
You know, I think if whoever has that title for Fabricio or Pato, I think the next guy in line is going to be Diogo.
Yeah.
He had it before. He just got injured in that match versus Pato. I think like that is his to rematch for.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah. So I think, you know, he's not going to move to 35.
No.
Might as well have Shea come up, you know, to 45, and he has the stature to do it. So, but yeah, it was very, very impressive performance from Diogo. And again, I think we're going to see more from Shea here. He has crazy attributes for the division. I'd love to see him back on Who's Number One with someone, you know, in the rankings, but not like Diogo, Pato, or Fabricio. Give him someone like to feed her into Who's Number One. Let him show off his game a little bit more, and then, you know, then put him back up in those killers rows. So let's move on to a match that we are going to talk about longer than it happened.
Yes.
Achilles Hosha beat Cameron Couch via armbar. It is the fastest sub in Who's Number One history.
It is.
How long was Nicky Ryan's sub over Jose Torres, the wrestler guy that they brought in?
Well, it wasn't.
Yeah. He had the previous record. I think it was 20 seconds or something.
Yeah.
And everyone kind of goes, in the Who's Number One records, everyone kind of goes, does that really count, though? Because it was like he subbed a wrestler with a leg lock really quickly. And we all kind of went, it's kind of weird. I am happy that it now belongs to Achilles. Yeah. Because it's like a jiu-jitsu guy. And it's like, hey, a jiu-jitsu guy has done jiu-jitsu versus another jiu-jitsu guy in Cameron Couch, another black belt. It was cool to see. This was very quick.
Yes.
Couch shoots a double leg. Achilles goes, I'm getting taken down. Does a balloon sweep, counter over the top, and then slides out to the side.
He almost did like a helicopter armbar.
Kind of.
But
almost.
But
from the roll through.
Yeah.
And then just rolls over, gets the arm lock, bellies down, and then goes bop over the hip line, and that's the match.
Yeah. It's a wild 16 seconds.
Again, I do think it's a great match to get kind of Achilles back on the horse, back on the feeder. Again, him, his sister, and his father were all in the same card. I like seeing Achilles' game. He is 17 still. Yeah. He's still very much developing.
You can tell when they interview him that he's still 17.
Yeah. He's young. I kind of want to see more from this match because I think the styles of the bodies were going to be really interesting. But again, we know Achilles is really high level. I want to see him, like, with this victory over Couch, I want to see him start to move up in the rankings, but don't throw him immediately as like a champion. Like give him guys that are like close to Cameron Couch's level, like good competitive black belts that we've seen on Who's Number One. We've seen on things like Kasai and Third Coast, like that are in that super fight scene that can have those good matches. Like, as he builds his game, he's 17. Like that's certain guys like Nicky Ryan, we threw into the deep end, got injured. Mika Galvao threw into the deep end. Certain guys need, like MMA, guys need more lead up. Give Achilles a little more lead up, and like I'm very curious to see where he goes, with his father's game.
Yep.
Anything else on that?
Nope.
Moving on, we got Lucas Lira beating Hassam Albed by decision. This is a fun match. Yeah. We've seen, I think this is Lucas Lira's debut on Who's Number One?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Maggie Grandotti's husband. Really, really good competitor. They're out of Atos now.
Yeah. I think he's always been out of Atos.
Oh, he has been Atos.
Yeah, I think he was always Atos.
Okay.
And she
moved to Atos. Yeah, that's what it was. I was impressed with Lucas Lira. Goes to decision, but I think it was Lira's pretty much the entire way through.
It was his leg attacks. He just kept on trying to go after him. Hassan was doing a really good job, he would get deep, but he wouldn't get deep enough to get in trouble, and then he'd be able to kind of get out and kind of. But Lucas was definitely in the driver's seat for most of the match, going into the legs and trying to go after ankle locks and different leg attacks.
I think those leg attacks are what win him. Again, he's consistently in Who's Number One. They want activity, they want aggressiveness, and they want you kind of moving forward.
Yeah.
either positionally or through subchains. And I think that's kind of why he put in my head clearly gets the decision here, because he's just doing that more.
Well, and at the end, Hassam tries to grab like a leg attack at the very end, and Lucas just stands up and passes guard. And it was
was fun. That was telling.
Yeah, and it was a very like when something like that happens at the end of a match, you kind of always go, that's he won.
Yeah.
You know, like
a big definitive moment at the end. You're like in a close match,
that's a hard thing to.
But as a competitor, that sometimes you remember, like it's the Michael Bisping win. It's like, hey man, those last 30 seconds of that round, you make a statement. A lot of times that can win you the whole round, because the judges remember, that guy was beating the guy's ass at the end. Like Lucas Lear comes from very good coaching, and winning at the end there like that, a lot of times will sway judges if they're on the fence. So athletes should look at stuff like that to be able to incorporate that in their game.
Yes.
Like judges remember the last 30 seconds. They're human. They've watched a bunch of matches in a day. Give them a stand-up moment. A lot of times that'll win you a close decision.
Yes.
Moving on, we have this was actually surprising. We have Kasia. Give me her name again.
Kasia Mora.
Beating Jessie Crane.
Yeah, by
submission. Yeah. And I was looking up. I knew we've covered Mora before. I've seen her before, and you said that she's been on main character a couple times. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So that's where we've seen her before.
She's also under Bruno Bastos, so.
Yeah, so she's out there with Emily Ferreira as well.
Yeah, Ferreira.
Yeah. Bastos was in both their corners.
Yeah.
Yep.
She was in control. I mean, Cassia was kind of like, I'm going to get on top of you and not move.
Yeah. You said that she is Brazilian and she's just come over?
Yeah, she's just come over within the last, I forget how long they said she's been here, but she hasn't been in the United States for a long period of time. And then she won double gold at Pans at brown belt.
Yeah. So that is very telling at the level, like, oh yeah, new Brazilian competitor just in the U.S., double golds at a major. Like, you're very, very world class and very good.
Yeah.
Which again, you're submitting Jessica Crane, in half the match time. Yeah. Very, 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 very good showing. It was, you could see that Maria plays the IBJJF game.
Yeah.
With how she elects to go through the positions, how she elects to control them, how she moved through, how she got the back,
how she even it is something that you can definitely see in matches. People who play the point game are very if they get something, they generally don't overcommit to positions. They generally like, oh shit, I can't do this armbar anymore because I'm going to lose my position, and they immediately go into a dominant position. Mm-hmm. They let go of the submission in order to do so. Where if you watch a lot of the people that do mostly sub only
or ADCC a lot of times,
you see them go hard for that armbar and screw over their position sometimes in doing so.
But ADCC, again, it's different styles for different competitors. Like IBJJF, it is a positional grappling game. That is what you're trying to win. The submissions are an option, but you're not really rewarded for trying to submit someone and really get advantages. Maybe in ADCC, they reward you for doing that because you can't lose points if you are the one that initiates the change position. If you end up on the bottom,
and the first half of your match is sub only. Yeah. So it doesn't
and if you get initiation on that, you win. So it's interesting to see. We're watching so much more ADCC, but to see it on a trials weekend, it was very telling me of Kessa plays an IBJJF style game, and you could see the contrast on the weekend. I was like, oh, that's cool. It's cool to see that there are different ways and different stylistic approaches to grappling. It's always nice to see that. So really dominant performance over Jessica Crane, running a choke from the back. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more from her.
I think so too.
So, and the opener match on the card, we had Evan Levy, Amanda Levy's younger brother, who is so funny. We saw him. I remember seeing him when he was young, and he was a big kid, and he's now he is full sleeve MMA fighter, 185, and I'm like, oh, this is not the same guy. So when I interviewed Amanda after she won East Coast Trials, and the audio was all messed up for that, so it never came out. We were talking after the interview about what her brother was up to, and and she was like, oh, he's like MMA now. I was like, oh, that's crazy. So it's awesome to see him here.
But he's competing out of New Wave.
Yeah.
Yeah, he trains down
now,
New
but
Wave.
he's jiu-jitsuing now too.
But he won the qualifier that was at finishers.
Yes.
So that's how he gets in. And this time he goes against Marlon Tanaka. From Greasy Gym in Texas. And it's an interesting match. It's definitely a lot of standing into the legs, and I
was really impressed with Levy's consistent control in the legs and like his willingness to go into the legs, but also be into top, be into passing, and like Levy seemed more comfortable and in control for the large stretches of the match, which is I think what wins him the decision here. Again, I like seeing qualifiers win. I like seeing qualifiers come into the who's number one system. Yeah. I would love to see a match. I think Max Hansen's maybe a little too small, but like I would love to see both those guys go at it because again, you have your qualifier winner. Max Hansen is looking to get back into who's number one. I think that'd be a really interesting kind of benchmarking match for both guys. I think it's a lot for Evan, but again, he won the qualifier. And again, that's like Max Hansen's the champion there. I think it would be a really interesting match to put up on who's number one for both those guys. If Max Hansen wants to go up to 85, which he does, but that's a rough match for a super fight versus a guy as big as Evan. So fun match, great card opener.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was a good weekend overall. Some of the matchups I think were
a little one-sided.
Yeah, definitely a little one-sided. It was a little. It seemed very much like a sorting out card.
Yeah.
Where it's like we have a lot of grapplers. It's kind of like a bit of a redo of the rankings. It's kind of what it seemed like. Okay, here are your high-level guys. Here are people that are looking for ranking spots. Which again, I think it's really important to have cards like this where you give some of your high prospects opportunities to make big names and big waves against, again, your top-level competitors. But I think a lot of the card was like that, and it's usually we see a couple matches, and a lot of the card was like that this week. So, good match. Great matches coming up. It was a lot of fun. This next week, Miranda, anything else on the stuff we've previewed or we've recapped?
Nope.
So let's go into the recap section of the show. The preview section of the show. We got two cards. We got ADCC 4, which has some fun matchups on it in Paris. Paris?
Yes.
And then we have Fight Pass Invitational that happens Wednesday, May 15th, headlined by Nick Rodriguez versus Mason Fowler.
Which is a Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Just so everybody realizes. Wednesday.
So it will be the day this show comes out on YouTube or the previous day. If you're listening to this on the day it comes out Tuesday, it'll be tomorrow.
Yeah.
So Nick Rodriguez versus Mason Fowler. It is what you pulled up our notes from last time.
Yeah.
So Fight Pass Invitational has been changing their rules a lot. So we have no idea what rules are going to be for this one. We are guessing that this is going to be a 10-minute match with 2 overtimes after EBI style, but only starting on the back, right?
No, points.
What was only starting on the back? That was PGF
that
only
was,
back.
Yeah, that was something else.
Okay.
This is one round sub only, and then OT is 5 minutes. Points.
I thought they had point. Okay, so it is points. So it's kind of split.
Points for only overtime.
Okay, that's what it is.
Your first is I think it's 10 minutes, and then sub only, and then 5 minutes overtime points.
Okay. This is such a weird one to pick.
If you the way I think about it is if you remember the Nicky Rod versus Jimenez match. The whole beginning of the match.
Oh yeah,
was nothing.
Yes.
And then as soon as he got to points, Nicky Rod got his takedown and scored and was done, and the match was over.
I remember that now.
Yeah.
I always forget if it's even how it goes.
No, because I think if we would have went into EBI overtime with Jimenez, it would have been a little bit different. Yeah. Because he on the back, he's a beast.
He's crazy good. And so is Nick Rodriguez. So this is a weird one to pick. Because Nick Rodriguez, a bit bigger than Mason Fowler, but not that much bigger anymore. Yeah. I think
we kind of already.
I don't think this is going to EBI.
Yeah,
I think this is going to points. I'm going to pretend.
It's not EBI. It's points.
It's only not. This is a points tournament now, which is great. It's sub only, then points. They're done with EBI. Thank God. Thank you, Miranda.
That's okay.
I see. I see pathways for both guys to win this. I think we are going to see Nick Rodriguez. He's going to try to wrestle Mason Fowler. Yeah. And then I think we're just going to see Mason Fowler try to arm drag. He's going to try to get to the back of Nick Rodriguez. I think Mason Fowler has some of the best guard that we've seen, but we almost saw Nick Rodriguez be able to pass Victor Hugo. I think Mason Fowler doesn't quite have the attributes for leg length that Victor Hugo has. I think Nick Rodriguez can get past Mason Fowler.
But I think Mason Fowler has the little legs.
And I think he has the speed.
And sometimes little legs give you a lot more benefit because you can circle them around and get them back in front of you. And I go for Mason Fowler.
I'm going to go Nick Rodriguez by points here.
Okay.
I think he's going to slow it down. I think he's going to go body lock pass. He's going to get to the top. He's going to get to the side. He may or may not get to mount.
And the other thing is, the last time we saw Mason Fowler do this game was the last what is it called?
Fight Pass Invitational.
Fight Pass Invitational. I know, but I'm like, it's like, because they call it FPI. Yeah. No, I was looking at UFC and I was like, why is it UF? And then I was like, what? And then I was getting confused. Anyway, the last one we saw Mason Fowler do the whole like, it's sub only, so I don't give a shit kind of feeling, and kind of like drain him out, and then at the end kind of pick it up. And I think he's going to do the same thing in this match.
Yeah, I think that Rodriguez takes us on points. It wouldn't surprise me to have Fowler get an armbar on Rodriguez, and like Rodriguez have to dig really deep to get out of it.
Yeah.
Again, we're getting close to ADCC. We typically close to ADCC see guys tapping a little sooner.
Yeah.
Because they know they have ADCC coming up. Both these guys have ADCC coming up.
Yeah.
Fowler still wants that Gordon Ryan match, so I think he has a lot on the line for that, because I think that is next in line. As soon as Gordon is healthy and willing to compete again, they're going to throw a bunch of money to make that match happen. But I do think that Rodriguez's passing will come through, but it would not surprise me to see Fowler be just that weird interface of big enough and strong enough and quick enough to really give Nick Rodriguez some problems, because we've seen how just insanely strong Mason Fowler is, and he's a big enough guy that plays like a Caio Terra small man's game in a way that potentially is more technical than most of the guys, almost all the guys, that Nick Rodriguez, aside from Gordon, has faced in the last year.
Yeah, I agree.
So it'll be interesting. You're going Fowler by sub or by points?
Sub.
What sub?
I don't know.
Rear naked choke?
Armbar.
Armbar? Okay.
We'll go armbar.
I'm gonna go Rodriguez.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, armbar, because that's what he got on the big Shingoli kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Rodriguez by points. It wouldn't be crazy to me to have Rodriguez get a choke, but I think that Fowler is insanely hard to put away on the back.
It's because his neck is like the same size as his
and
head.
he's also, I never will forget at Submission Underground, Mason Fowler back cranking Craig Jones in overtime and tapping him like 2 different times with that. Like that is just insane. So next match on the card, we have Conor Duarte versus Luke Griffith. I think this is Kynan as a fairly easy pick. Yeah. Unless Luke can make it to the legs. Yeah. And I think that is what Luke is looking for.
The last match I saw with Kynan was not
versus Poya Romani.
Yeah, it was
at Pit Submission 6.
It was like not,
and it was weird, and it was neither guy really did much, and Poya was able to take that because it was just a super low level of activity. I think that Duarte can get past Luke's guard. I think that Duarte can get on top and cook him, kind of like we saw him do versus Craig Jones. Now Luke has some crazy attributes. He's 6'5", he's enormous. Yeah. Very strong. He's making rapid improvements at the New Wave camp.
He can also jump your back from like standing.
Yeah. I just think that Kynan is probably going to do exactly what we've seen Kynan do.
I know.
He's going to sit.
As much as I would like to see Luke win, I can't really go against Kynan.
No. I think Kynan Duarte is going to sit. He's going to immediately pull and try to wrestle up. He's going to put Luke on his butt, and then he's going to start passing. He's eventually going to get past with like a heavy closed-in body, like overhook style leg passing. Luke is going to float him, but he's not going to be able to stop Duarte. He's going to flip to the side. Duarte's then going to camp inside control for a little bit. Yeah. He's going to go up. He's going to do enough motion so that he doesn't get called for stalling, and he'll even take a stalling call. Then when points comes, we're going to see him go to mount. We're going to see him try to play that game, really get high on Luke underneath the armpits, and like control him there. Yeah. If Luke can, from mount, get Duarte up and into like a single leg X position from that mount escape, that becomes really interesting. Yes. Because Duarte has historically had some problems with heel hooks, and I think that is Luke's absolute pathway to victory here.
But I think Kynan's also been working on heel hooks.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, I think we're seeing
his leg defense is a lot better than it used to be.
It is significantly better than it was. So again, I cannot pick against Conor Duarte. He's your Polaris champion. He's your 2-time ADCC champion. Like, dude's been almost unbeatable as of recently. What? Not 2-time?
No.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking about something completely different.
Okay. So
I'm
that's
thinking
what I'm
about
going.
the next one.
We also have Giancarlo Bodoni versus Gabriel Arges. Giancarlo Bodoni, your under 88 kilogram ADCC champion. Gabriel Arges, your recently announced invite. He got second place to Pedro Mourinho and Charles Negromonte at both trials in South America, back-to-back weekends. Yes. Very, very good. Bodoni has looked very, very good recently. Arges looked good too. I got a chance to commentate some of his matches at Copa Virginia and Copa Elite over the last couple of months. But Bodoni, man, has been on a different level. I think this is a really tough match for.
Are you sure with that? Are you sure with him being on?
Oh, he had a weird last two matches.
Yeah,
didn't
he did. That's what I was looking for.
Okay.
I was looking for because I was like in my head. I'm like Bordoni's had a weird, like, the last couple.
Yeah, what was his last match actually?
It was the IBJJF Nogi Grand Prix. He lost to Kynan. He lost to Kynan.
And then he lost to Pedro, who's number one. And that was that weird match, the wrestling match. Then he kind of Pedro played at that middle range.
Patrick Guardo and Pedro
Gaudio,
and Pedro Hoja, which are two gentlemen that are.
They're good. They're
good.
World ranked, but they're not like they're usually not the top one or two. And Gaudio and Nogi is very, very good.
Well, this is Nogi.
Nogi.
And they were both points wins. And then we have Kynan who beat his ass.
Yeah.
Basically.
Was Polaris?
No, at IBJJF Nogi Grand Prix.
Oh, that
Remember
one. Yeah.
the whole bracket?
Yeah.
And then we have the Pedro Mourinho.
It was a weird kind of decision match.
So I say Arges because Arges has been winning. Like,
He lost to Pedro, so did Giancarlo.
But besides the losses in finals, besides that, he's been doing really well. I go Arges just because he's hungry and he's hungry.
Yeah. I'm going to go Bodoni here. He's with his camp. He's with Luke. There are other guys on the New Wave card that are there. I just think that he is in the process of peaking. They're both in the process of kind of peaking for ADCC.
Yeah.
But Bodoni will have odd matches, and then he will have like a consistency before ADCC. I think we're going to see that. I think this is when we'll see Bodoni kind of return, and I think he subs Arges.
Yeah.
I think he gets to his back and he submits him. But again, could go either way. We have next match, Renato Canuto versus Aaron Wilson. Should be a really fun match at 170. We have Jay Rodriguez versus Ronaldo Jr. at 185. We just saw Ronaldo versus Cody Steele.
I thought, no, J-Rod and didn't Ronaldo get hurt? Ronaldo got hurt.
Oh, really?
J-Rod versus somebody. Give me a second, because I remember this one.
We also have Raquel Canuto, Ronaldo Canuto's wife, versus Ashlyn O'Connell at 145. That should be fun.
J-Rod's versus Jonatas Gracie.
Oh, yeah, that happened.
Because
that should be super fun.
Because Ronaldo pulled out, so now it's Jonatas, and Jonatas just recently went against Nikki Ryan.
And then he also recently went against someone else.
He's won against everybody recently.
Yeah, he's been looking really good recently.
And it's because it's the new Jonatas. It's not the boring Jonatas.
This is a tough one to call. J-Rod is going to lose early. And then the question is, can Jay Rodriguez pull it out from behind?
Yeah.
And that is the perennial Jay Rodriguez question. It's like no matter how bad he loses early, can he eventually pull it out? And I think with a guy like Jonatas Gracie, potentially, stylistically, Gracie can front run.
Yeah.
And then I think J-Rod can potentially fade him and like take it late. He's gonna have to win probably by sub. He's got to get his back. He can do that. This is a weird stylistic matchup. Actually,
it is. It is because the question is, does someone like Jonatas, who has a much more old school,
developed
and systematic guard, beat someone who's a lot more, kind of organic? Yeah. Which is the word we used
It's
before,
your rote striker versus your organic striker. Yeah. It's like there's like two different ways to solve the problem.
Because J-Rod does some crazy shit.
He does. Kind of like Andrew Tackett in that way, where it's like he gets a feel for it, and then he'll just launch and he'll just go into something. Jonatas Gracie is very kind of measured and like thoughtful in the way that he approaches most of the grappling situations that he's in. My gut kind of goes J-Rod. It wouldn't surprise me to see Jonatas take this kind of cleanly.
I go Jonatas,
But I kind of think that if Jay can make a scramble happen late, I kind of favor Jay Rodriguez. If he can't, I think Jonathan Gracie takes this clean. It kind of looks like the Nikki Ryan match.
Yeah.
And that's where it goes. But if Jay can make a scramble late, I'm pulling for J-Rod here. We also have a fan favorite of ours, Peter Frank versus Rafael Domingos. That should be fun. It's with 185, a little heavy for Domingos, but look for the jumping arm bars. We see a little bit less of it from Peter Frank in the in no-gi.
Yeah.
But it is fun to see him on Fight Mass Invitational. He is exciting. He has fun walkouts. He has fun antics during his matches.
He's an interesting dude all around.
Yep. We also in this match have Helena Crovar versus Aurelia Laverne, 145. Should be a fun matchup. I think Aurelia is the Asian trials champion for the first trials, so for the non-qualifying trials.
She also won like Europeans maybe in the gi.
Yeah.
And Pans in the gi.
Yeah, really, really tough matchup for
like
Crovar.
she's won a couple IBJJF titles recently too.
This is your opener on the card. I think this is a really, really good opener.
We skipped one. We skipped Raquel Canuto versus Ashlyn O'Connor.
I said it earlier, but
did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It should be fun. Again, I like Raquel's game. Yeah. Ashlyn has looked very good recently. Yeah. It'll be. This is a very, very well matched matchup. I kind of don't know how to pick it.
It's also an old school versus new school, because Ashlyn's young and Raquel's been around for
has a lot of experience there. So again, super fun card, very, very well matched. A lot of like X factors, a lot of like could very much go either way. Kind and Luke is absolute, but they're both big guys. And Nick Rodriguez and Mason Fowler is absolute. Fowler is usually a little smaller, but I don't think he's going to be that much smaller than Nicky Rod.
He's wide, like he's a big dude. He's a big dude. Yeah.
Yeah. He has a little bit smaller of a frame, but he's like very, very built for his frame. So that was Fight Pass Invitational 7, May 15th. It's a Wednesday, starts at 8 p.m. because they hate the East Coast.
Yeah, they hate us.
So, it's going to be like a midnight.
Yeah, it's
they're usually quick. They're usually like 2.5 hours. So it might only be like 11 o'clock on a Wednesday, which is I'll deal with. So we also have ADCC 4, happens on Saturday, May 18th. This one is in Paris, France, and is main evented by Benoit Saint Denis versus Mark DeCasey. A grappling bout. You called this out earlier.
Yeah, grappling. They say grappling bout is no gi. If it's a jiu-jitsu bout, it's gi.
Yeah,
and they do the fun thing where they
they tie they tape the belt together so it doesn't fall off.
So you can't lose your belt.
Yeah. Again, Mark DeCasey and Benoit Saint Denis are UFC fighters or former UFC fighters. Co-main event is Espen Mathisen versus Leon Larma. I'm not super familiar with Larma, but we've been super hot on Espen recently. He's been put on really fun.
So we get to watch the gi.
Yeah, which Espen is so good in the gi.
He's
Co-main
also
event,
a bolo master.
Mm-hmm. Co-main event is one that I'm really excited about. Grappling bout, Fionn Davies versus Mo Black.
Yeah.
This is a really big opportunity for Mo Black.
It is.
To go against Fionn. Fionn is like the killer champion for all the organizations right now. It's a tough ask to beat her, but Mo Black is very, very good.
Mo Black's going to have a little size on her, too.
Is she bigger?
Because Mo Black went against Helena Crovar, which is
under 65. Yep.
Yeah, under 65.
And Fionn is now going to under 55. Yeah. So, okay. This would be a really good one. I'm picking Fionn here, but Morgan has some really good wrestling and a really good, like, she approaches it in a very tactful way.
But I haven't seen Fionn mess up at all.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I haven't seen her make any mistakes.
Until Fionn, like, has a oops match or like a crack in the armor match, not a woman in the world under 200, I'm betting against Fionn. And even most of them above 200, I'm not betting against Fionn. Gi or no gi. Like, she's looked phenomenal. So this will be a fun one. Also on the card for some matches that we recognize, we have Natalia DeJesus versus Elizabeth Mitrovic.
Yeah.
Should be a really fun match. It's no-gi. Mitrovic looked really good at West Coast trials. No-gi and Natalia DeJesus.
We watched Natalia DeJesus beat Gabby Garcia.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Really, really high-level women's match. I think probably heavyweight women's match.
Yeah.
So that'll be a really good one. We have Magdalena Loska versus Nina Blackman as well, or Nia. Even on the pre-show, I called her the wrong name.
Yeah.
Nia Blackman. Nia had a really good match at the European trials in the finals there. So that should be a lot of fun as well. Also on the prelim card, we have Gio Martinez versus Nicholas Renner. I'm not super familiar with Renner. But
I think Renner is the guy that he was in 1FC.
that's different guy.
Different Renner?
Because that's the guy that
Okay.
Ty went against.
Oh,
He's the
okay.
double champion,
Different.
85 and light heavyweight.
okay.
That's De Ritter, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Renner, yeah. They call him, his first name is that.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I did the same thing.
Okay.
Different guy. Again, unless Gio Martinez is going up to 185, which I
No,
doubt he
there's
is.
no way.
So, there's a bunch of other names on the card. It should be a fun card. Your co-main event I messed up is Leonardo Mario versus Khalid Al Shahir. We've seen them before. We saw him versus Osama on Pit Submission Fighting. That was a really fun matchup. So should be a fun card. It's been a little harder to find the last one, but
it's 6 p.m. France time. I don't know what that means.
So in the
Let me
U.S.,
look.
it will happen at a time.
Okay, give me a second and
But-
I'll convert it.
Should be a fun card, and that's all I got.
6 p.m. Paris. EST.
Into EST.
Noon.
All right, hell yeah, noon card.
Noon card.
I love European cards.
It's noon on
because it's
noon
always,
on Saturday.
It's always the best, like Polaris, Grapple Fest, ADXC. Like they never have them in Europe. It's just awesome to have like a midday. Like, I finished training, come back home.
But I hear it's the opposite for UFC cards if you're in Europe.
Yeah.
Because you're like watching them at like 3 a.m. in the morning. They start at like 6 a.m. here.
Aspinall was talking about it. He goes, "Why do they make the UK fans so 3 a.m.? It's like give us we saw it at the arena.
Yeah.
Give it to us at our time." And I'm like, "That's reasonable. I'll give you a couple." So what do you got going on this week? Anything fun?
I have a wrestling seminar on Saturday
Okay.
with a Penn State gentleman.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be fun. I'm trying to think what else. I think that's it. I just need to recover from not sleeping for like a couple days.
Yeah, from going down to car jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From
It's been a fun week.
traveling. Yeah, it's been a fun time. And a lot going on. So
I got my family coming into town. My wife's graduation. It's like
when did she graduate?
this month.
Okay.
Later this month, so
I
it
think
should be
this
fun.
month. Yeah.
This month, later this
Okay.
month. Be fun. We got a friend having a wedding. We have some friends coming in from England. We're gonna hang out with the week for that
Sweet.
wedding. So it's me trying to prep our house to have some folks in. And just getting ready for some family events, graduation. It should be a lot of fun. I'm very, very excited for it. I've got a bunch of stuff at work I've got to finish up before I go on vacation for that for a couple of days. But I got nothing else going on. I'm just training, just trying to improve, training.
Trying to do what we can.
Yep, pretty much. So I got nothing else, Miranda. You have anything else?
Nah, that's okay.
As always in the show, I'm your host, Maine, my co-host.
Miranda.
And we are the Grappling Reruns. Saying that, whatever it is, stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
Let us know.
reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.